Yo, what up, guys? How you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're reacting to Jordan Peterson. I'm not anti-feminist. Let's get
Not
it.
anti-feminist per se. I mean, I think the idea that the world would benefit from the movement of talent from both sexes into the workplace as rapidly as possible is something that anyone with any sense should share, given the rather the rarity of talent and the necessity for utilizing it. I do stand by my original statement, though, that there's a brand of more radical feminism that insists that our culture is best characterized as an oppressive patriarchy, and I think that, first of all, that's an appalling sociological doctrine, and I think it has very negative psychological effects. And they won't be limited to men, because if it's true that there's something toxic, let's say, about masculinity per se, what that will inevitably mean is that as women adopt more masculine roles, traditionally, what is that toxicity somehow going to go away?
But that's a straw man, because no one says there's anything toxic about masculinity per se.
What do you mean no one says that?
People
The
use-
term exists.
No.
How is that a straw man? Well, where did the term come
It's a phrase that's used about forms of masculinity that are harmful to men and women. It's not about masculinity per se. You must know that.
I read the American Psychological Association guidelines for the treatment of boys and men, and I know perfectly well that this is no straw man. And it's not only devoted towards what you might describe as the more aggressive ends of masculine behavior. It's aimed at masculinity in a much broader range of. There's a much broader range of accusations that are under the surface than that. And so I don't see in what way at all that it's a straw man.
I'm just going to pause.
I think that when you look at Jordan Peterson, a lot of times in these type of conversations that he ends up in, he suffers from this thing that I once heard, which is called the curse of knowledge. So you're arguing with someone who's not particularly knowledgeable about a certain topic, but has an emotional feeling to it. So you find that a lot of people that he debates with, they're more emotional rather than coming from a level of knowledge.
That argument for a second.
Disagree, I think,
Go
on
to Catherine McGregor. And Catherine, I mean, you've lived on both sides of the gender fence. So what are your thoughts on these issues? And just go back to the question that was raised.
I don't know whether that qualifies me or disqualifies me, frankly. Sorry, guys, I ratted on the team, but not for any sociological reason. It was intensely personal. I gather we might address that. But look, I'm not entirely out of sympathy with Jordan's critique. I'm the oldest person on this panel, bar you, Tony, and in my lifetime, I've seen rolling institutional crises through the West. You know, the great American settlement based on Bretton Woods and NATO and the United Nations and so on is fraying globally in the area that I can talk about with some authority. We're seeing a dissolving global order now with the rise of two autocratic totalitarian capitalist states, which is replicating the conditions of the 1930s. And I gather we're not doing the geostrategic stuff, but I think it's very alarming. When Robert F. Kennedy, who was my political hero, was running for the presidency of the United States in 1968, he addressed disenfranchised African Americans who were wearing the backlash from many white men who were losing their jobs or perceiving that they were losing their jobs. The deindustrialisation of the West as jobs are exported to the developing world, all of these factors are, Bobby Kennedy said it wasn't Germaine Greer that said it. He said, when you remove from a man the right to stand before his family as a breadwinner, and people will say that's patriarchy.
That's your minute, by the way. So.
All right, well, I'll shut up. But the removal of meaningful work amongst especially unskilled men has a political consequence. And it's been washing through the American system since 1980 with the Reagan Democrats, the fraying of the New Deal coalition. I don't entirely agree with Jordan's analysis, but the problem can't be gainsaid. And 3 million books later in 50 languages or whatever it is, I bought your book, by the way, and you're outselling Shane Warne. Now, that's a culturally specific reference. That delights me in two ways, because in Australian cricket, no one has more bleached blonde hair or has had more work done than I, but Warne is a close second.
We should put that out on Twitter.
Yeah, I like this fact that they bring up because, when you look at the term toxic masculinity, it makes me laugh because when you break down what's so toxic about the toxicity, it's just men saying, yo, we want to be men. We've lost the identity of what it means or what it meant to be a man. Growing up, you knew a man was a father, was a leader, he provided. I come from Africa, or I come from Zimbabwe to be specific, where you grow up and a man is a father figure, is a person that you look up to, and what that meant was they brought food to the house. They protected the household. And we live in societies whereby when you took away the jobs that men had, and now with the rise of feminism to making it equality, and men have lost in a sense their identity, and women have gained a new identity because they fought so hard to become men. So they fought for that identity, and now you have men going, okay, now that we're both men, who am I? How do I find that? And you find for a lot, what I view is for women, they have the balance of being a woman and being a man, so they have best of both worlds. Whereas what's happening for men is you're being left with the worst of being a man. You're left with weakness. You're left with the idea that you cannot express yourself. You cannot speak like a man. You cannot engage in topics that you enjoy without risk of being cancelled or removed from different platforms. And we live in this time whereby when you're like, hey, we feel like this is what I feel, then they go, no, you're anti-feminist. It's like, no, I'm not anti your movement. I'm pro mine. You know, just because I'm pro mine doesn't mean I'm anti yours. I'm pro mine in the sense that I would like to work, I would like to earn an income, I would like to be able to provide. And I think that the disparity that then exists whereby, oh, men are paid more, women are paid less, it's in trying to create those balances whereby the man can still be a breadwinner. But we also live in a society where you don't necessarily just want the man to control his woman and stuff like that. So I feel like we have to redefine a lot of roles and find different ways of making things work for men to find their own voice and become who they are. But that's all my thoughts. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think.